You've just microneedled and you might look like this. What should you expect in the next week? What should you take nutritionally? What should you apply topically? And what are the clinical interventions? What are the other devices or modalities that you can use on your skin so that you get the best results? We are going to go over all of that in today's video. I am going to take you through day by day, what you can expect to see, how you can expect to feel. Whether you do this at home, you go in office and you get it done, or you're derma rolling at 0.5 or deeper. If you're new here, my name is Penny. I'm a master esthetician in Portland, Oregon, and I'm super excited that you're here because this is one of those questions that I get all the time is what do I need to be doing after I microneedle? Now we're going to go through all of that today. I am going to have a corresponding blog post up right now with a graphic that is hopefully easy for you to understand so that you can see visually exactly what I'm talking about day by day. First things first, the very first day that you microneedle, you can expect to have some pinpoint bleeding. You can expect to have erythema, which means that you're going to be pink. Now I do have an entire protocol on microneedling. I will link that here so that if you are interested in how do you even get to this point that we're talking about right now, I describe it and I go over it in that video. So now you have pink skin that feels kind of sunburnt and has probably some pinpoint bleeding, and you probably feel a little, hot, and you might even be a tiny bit swollen. Now, things like bruising, that's not typical, and I do not recommend being that aggressive that you ever get any kind of bruising, and you should only have pinpoint bleeding. You shouldn't be hamburger. That's my opinion. So you're going to look like you've definitely had a treatment, and you're going to feel kind of like you're tight, dry, maybe like you have egg whites on your face. So what you can do immediately after you microneedle is you can hop in the shower, and for 10 to 20 minutes, you can let the tepid water run over your face, and you can massage away the excess hyaluronic acid and blood that gets mixed in there that creates that egg white feeling. Now, if you don't want to actually jump in the shower, you can of course do this in the sink, but my recommendation is that you double wash your hands first, and then you still only use water in your hands to massage away that hyaluronic acid and that excess blood. You will find that once you do that, you look incredibly different. You look so much better than when you just finished needling. Just the action of rinsing away all of that kind of pinky blood and hyaluronic acid makes your face look 10 times better immediately. So don't be afraid once you just finish your microneedling session of what you look like, because some of that is just surface stuff that's kind of clouding your vision and making you look even a little bit, more treated. Now, what you're going to do next is with that bare skin, this is the perfect time to do an LED session. Now, the reason why that we use an LED at this point is that it is anti-inflammatory and it can help to cap the inflammatory response. The thing about microneedling is we are actually trying to induce inflammation. We are looking for that wound healing response. That inflammatory response is what is actually going to induce collagen. But we want it to be capped off and kind of end at a certain point. We want to kick off that wound healing process, then we want to cap it so that we don't have excess inflammation. So LED is absolutely perfect for that. Not to mention that LED is going to amplify the benefits of collagen production. It's going to amplify the collagen synthesis. So once you're done with that LED session, this is when you can apply a little bit more of your hyaluronic acid. So the only thing that I suggest using on that day that you needle is high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. I have talked about this before. So that is all we're going to do. You're going to apply that high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. And now that your skin has been rinsed and is clean after your treatment, you will notice that the new layer of hyaluronic acid that you put on your skin is actually quite cooling. It feels very hydrating, and it can help to kind of mitigate the itchy, tight, dry feeling that you definitely can get from microneedling. You are likely to still feel like you have sunburned skin, that it's hot, and that it's pink. That's going to be pretty normal. That's all you're gonna do for that day. Now, the next day, when you get up, this is when we are starting what we're calling the inflammatory phase. I mean, technically, it's really started as soon as we needled, but days 1 through 5 are the inflammatory phase. Now, during this phase, what is super important is that we take nutritional supplements that are gonna feed our skin from the inside out. My most important that I always get in is my vitamin C. I'm taking vitamin C anyway right now, but I am especially vigilant when I am needling, when I'm in a needling schedule, to take my liposomal vitamin C. Now, it's also really great if you can get some omegas into your diet during this time, just to feed from the inside out our skin with those nutritional supplements. The clinical intervention that we're going to use is going to be more LED. You are going to see that green tea is one of the things that is called for as an option, and I love it in the days following a microneedling session. The way that I get my green tea in is the same as in the rest of my routine regularly, and that is in the form of a toner and the form of a serum 20 minutes prior to my LED session. So that doesn't change any more than normal. It's just even more important in the days following a microneedling session because it's really feeding our skin those antioxidants. And then of course it's amplifying the effects of the LED on our skin. And I am telling you, the marriage of microneedling, green tea, and LED is incredible for results. So first things first, I like to apply vitamin C the following day, and I also like to use an oil. Now, in the past, I've always recommended kiwi seed oil, and I know that that's hard for a lot of people to find. The reason why kiwi seed oil is so good is it's high in linoleic acid. Now, if you can't get your hands on kiwi seed oil, look for an oil that is also high in linoleic acid. I did a whole video on oils. I will link that in the cards so that you can check that out and you can kind of pick and choose between, high linoleic acid oils, but any of those are fine. I prefer to do this both morning and night in those first days after I needle because I definitely feel like my skin needs nourishment and it needs to be soothed with some extra oil. It just feels like that. So I use 3 to 4 drops of an oil, any oil that's high linoleic acid, and I press it into my skin. Now, the next thing that I do in the morning is I use a moisturizer. Usually I try to choose one with ceramides or that might have some omegas in it. Just a good hydrating moisturizer with no actives. You do not want any kind of alpha hydroxy acids. You don't want anything that's going to further exfoliate your skin. So the last thing that I do in the morning is sun protection. You absolutely have to be diligent with your sun protection in the days following microneedling. Of course, I think that you should always be diligent with your sun protection, but in the days following microneedling, it's even more paramount than ever. So that's all that I do. Now, you can wear makeup. If you have to wear makeup, and that is completely understandable, I usually recommend to people that they try to wear a mineral makeup at least in the first few days. The micro injuries, the holes that we created with that, with the microneedling session the night before or the day before, they're closed. They actually close really, really quickly, much more quickly than we really think they do. But we're still pretty conservative in those first 24 hours as to what we're putting on our skin because we are trying to avoid an allergic dermatitis. We're trying to avoid foreign body granulomas, that kind of thing. That's why we're super, super careful with the things that we put on our skin in those first 24 hours. But just know that by the very next day, you've already gone to bed and you wake up, those holes are pretty surely they're closed, but we're still going to be cautious with our skin. Okay, so now you have on your sun protection. I recommend that you reapply it during the day, especially in those first few days after you needle. You can expect to still see some pink, and you can still expect to see some of the residual of the pinpoint bleeding. There's no more bleeding, that's long gone, but you can sometimes still see some of the dots where there was pinpoint bleeding. That's very, very common for me the following day, along with some residual pinkness and a touch of swelling. Now, on these days, you will see in the chart that I'm putting on my blog that you can incorporate growth factors, you can incorporate green tea, you can incorporate boswellia, you can incorporate several other things. These are things that are options for you. They're things that you can choose to add into your skincare and that can be beneficial. Now, I always get questions about vitamin A. Vitamin A is definitely okay in the days following microneedling. In fact, Dr. Setterfield, who is the doctor that I follow for microneedling, he actually talks about vitamin A and how it is really, really great in the days following microneedling. The more, the better, he even says. Now, in my personal opinion and my personal experience, I don't reintroduce vitamin A until I'm toward the end of that first week after microneedling. I just feel like it adds an element of irritation to my skin that I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to just pamper my skin and feed it. And vitamin A is feeding it the vitamin, but it also can be very irritating. So my suggestion is if you want to reintroduce your vitamin A into your routine, you wait to the end of that first week and that you start off with weaker forms of the vitamin, so retinol and retinaldehyde, versus going in with your higher percentage retinase. I just think that that's asking for a little bit of irritation. The other thing that you can introduce is growth factors, and that is just up to you, your personal preference, and your choices on growth factors. There's all kinds of growth factors on the market. On the blog, I'll definitely list some of them that I have personally used and that I like. Now, by day 3, there is very little pink. I mean, I almost look normal, but I look a little blotchy on day 3. I still look a little blotchy, and this is when I start to notice that my skin starts to flake. So it's very, very normal for your skin to feel dry, tight, and flake. Part of this is because we are resurfacing that outer layer, that stratum corneum, which is why we get this fantastic retexturizing from microneedling. Microneedling is doing all of this dermal work for collagen and elastin, but we are getting this really fantastically refined surface because we're retexturizing and turning over a bunch of surface cells. So along with that, you could see some flaking and some dryness and some tightness. You just keep nourishing your skin with the oils and the moisturizers with ceramides and that kind of thing. By day 5, I feel like my skin looks completely back to normal. I have no evidence that I was treated. I have pretty even skin tone, and I feel like my skin is starting to look much improved from the day prior to needling. It's pretty incredible. So by day 5, you're pretty much good to go. Your skin is good. And then we enter into the fibroblastic phase. Now, this phase is all of the same things that we were just doing in that first week, but now we have the options to add more things in. You're going to see all of this in the graphic on my blog. And what you need to remember is at this point, you just have more options. There are more things that are allowed to be entered into our skincare regimen. You don't have to add them all in. In fact, at this point, you could just go back to your regular routine. You don't have to do any of the things that are on the graphic that you're going to see on my blog. You can really just go back to what you're doing to your skin all the time. So just know that these are just suggestions. Something else I want to mention is that you will see that microcurrent is one of the clinical interventions that's allowed in the first week after you've needled. And it is allowed and it is fine. The main thing about it is that it's sanitary. You want to be really careful when you touch anything to your skin in the days following a microneedling session, just that you are really aware of the sanitation of the device that touches your skin so that you don't cross-contaminate with anything on a device that isn't properly clean. So that's the main thing with adding in microcurrent. It's completely fine as far as the treatment goes. You just want to be sanitary with it. Now, the rest of the month will be on my blog, as well as I'm going to go through how I incorporate peels, how I incorporate RF. I'm also going to talk about how I incorporate things like IPL. That's all going to be on the blog. I'm going to give you kind of just some advice and some ideas, some ways that you can, alternate and do all of these treatments throughout kind of a year. Because a lot of times what is going to be the advice is that we don't do it all at the same time. But I'm going to give you some hints and some tips and some tricks on how to fit all of these into a skincare routine throughout the year. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful week. I hope this was helpful, and I will talk to you in my next skincare video. Take care. Okay, I hope that you guys can tell that I just needled. I have pretty even erythema, and I have a pinpoint bleeding, which is all very normal. I did do a microneedling protocol. I will link that in the cards, and I'll link it in the description box if you want to go through the actual needling process. Because I am going to rinse my face just with some tepid water repeatedly so that I can kind of loosen up all of this kind of crusty HA. Well, good morning. Here I am, fresh off of microneedling yesterday. So I'm gonna take my liposomal C. This is the one I've talked about forever. This is from Live On. I love these. All I do, you guys, and I do this every morning anyway, is I put it into a glass. You open it up, it's so easy. I drop it in a glass. I will show you guys. I drop it in a glass and you just shoot it. Okay, the other thing that you can add in during this time, we have all kinds of options, is green tea, and you can add in resveratrol, you can add in growth factors. All of this stuff is now what we can add into our skincare. So the way that I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna do green tea, I'm gonna use my isn't-tree, and I'm gonna use green rooibos, which is not green tea, but it is a really crazy antioxidant, wonderful antioxidant from my Sama. I'm gonna do those this morning right now, and then I'm going to do my clinical intervention of LED. That is how I'm gonna do my morning, followed by the oil and sun protection. So I'm gonna do that really quickly while I explain. Green tea is an amazing antioxidant that is also super soothing and anti-inflammatory. And the way that I'm gonna do it with the LED is I'm gonna put this on and I'm gonna give it 20 minutes. And then I am going to do about 10 minutes with my Mito. I'm gonna do 2 pumps of the Mysama. You could wear makeup. If I was gonna wear makeup, I would try to wear mineral makeup. I honestly would probably pull my Elastin sunscreen that's 100% mineral tinted. I love it. I don't talk about it a lot on this channel because it's kind of hard to find online, but it's a really, really great tinted sunscreen / moisturizer. Okay, now I've got my green tea / green rooibos on. I'm gonna give that 20 minutes. And if you're wondering why I give it 20 minutes, I have another video on that. I'll link that one as well. Green tea actually amplifies the effects of LED 10 times. It gives you 10 times faster results from LED. So the fact that LED is a clinical intervention during the inflammatory phase, day 1 through 5, which is where we are right now, and the fact that green tea is called for as a topical, and the fact that I know that green tea plus LED is amazing, and the fact that I know that LED plus microneedling is amazing, this is the perfect next day cocktail to do. Green tea, LED, after microneedling. So I am going to go ahead and wait 20 minutes, 10 minutes of LED, and then I'll be back to show you the rest of the process for this morning. Now I am going to add in my oil, and you know why? Because it's linoleic acid enriched, or it's high in linoleic acid. I'm just going to probably take 3 or 4 drops. I'm really, really dry, you guys, and I know I'm not going anywhere, so I'm not really that concerned. I'm gonna warm it up really well in my hands and just press it into my skin. everywhere that I needled, you know, especially. I'm going to do my neck, even though I didn't really needle my neck. I'm going to get a little oil there because I love it. So once you've done this, I'm just putting sunscreen over it. The sunscreen that I'm gonna put on is the Purito Centella. Now this is not a mineral sunscreen, and I know that it doesn't irritate my skin. My skin really likes it, it calms, and it's a great sunscreen. Choose the sunscreen that you want that's right for you. Whatever sunscreen that you know that doesn't irritate your skin and all of that stuff is fine. Just use what you want. The micro injuries that we made with that needling pen, they're closed. So I'm gonna be relatively generous, and even though I'm staying in today, I am definitely still wearing my sun protection. I am in a room with several windows, and that's where I work. And I will reapply this today too. I don't always reapply. I'm not always that good, but on the day after microneedling, I will make myself be good. Okay, once I'm done with this sunscreen, that's it. That is it for my morning. And then tonight, what I will do is I will wash my face with my, I will do my Dr. Brandt again. I'll wash my face with that, no tool. I'm not gonna use my PMD or anything like that. I'm gonna just gently wash my face with my Dr. Brandt or whatever cleanser that is gentle. Now, what I'm gonna follow that with is I'm gonna do the green tea again, and I am going to then use a growth factor, and then I will follow that with my oil, and I'll go to bed. That's gonna be the extent. I'm gonna check in tomorrow and let you know just how my skin looks. But this is what we're gonna do for the next 5 days. So basically, I'm gonna repeat this process tonight without the LED. I'm only doing LED in the morning. So that is my morning and my night. I'll check in and just show you how my skin changes over the next several days. It just continues to improve.
They say you're only young ones, but we live for it, we die for it, we live for forever. They say you're only young ones, but we live for it, we live for it, we live for forever. You at the hideout, where we can dream again. I'll tell you all my secrets. We're encouraged like a second skin. The kids are all dying. We're dying to believe again. Run through the open streets. We take what is needed.